Exotic animals are entirely legal in some states in the US, and as long as they are, the lives of exotic pet owners, exotic pet neighbors, and exotic pets are endangered. According to Business Insider's Christine Sullivan, tigers, anteaters, kangaroos, and even alligators can be owned as pets in some states. Texas, for example, allows its citizens to own alligators so long as they file it with the county and pay a $20 filing fee. That same $20 in Texas will buy you a Brazilian red and white tarantula without the need for any filing fees. That's a Brazilian red and white tarantula, and it's about 4.5 inches long. Other animals remain strictly off limits in the states. For example, bats. Bats are federally protected animals and are illegal to capture. Transporting bats requires long lists of permits and are difficult to get your hands on if you're not affiliated with a legitimate sanctuary or scientific program. That's an Indiana bat that's native to the United States and is extremely endangered. And if you get caught with one of these in your possession, you can go to federal prison. Another animal that's pretty tough to get your hand on is the penguin. Those are not penguins. That is. That's an African endangered penguin, native to Africa, obviously, and they have less than 1,400 species still alive. So it's a pretty slim population there. Penguins are of all different species are protected by a treaty called the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. This limits the captivity of these creatures to only reputable facilities and sanctuaries. Most penguins also are protected by the Endangered Species Act, which has severe punishment if offended. Up there's white tigers in captivity in Russia. Oh wait, I'm sorry, that's the wrong slide. Oh, never mind. Okay, go back. Those are white tigers in Russia who are in captivity. All these pictures, like a polar bear here that's in the States actually in a SeaWorld facility. And this is in Germany where the black bear is being held. And all these pictures kind of represent how captivity places harm on these animals who are clearly trying to roam free. All of these laws and acts have a purpose. They are in place to protect yourself and the animal. Many animals in captivity are harmed just from being out of their environment. Animal Asia's welfare director, Dave Neal, states, "Captivity robs animals of many things, their dignity, physical health, and mental well-being. It often strips them of essential survival skills. In captivity, a bat's lifespan can span from 1 year or less. In the wild, many bat species live up to 25 years old. But the harm does not only affect the animals. Exotic pet ownership comes with a boatload of risk. Bears, for example, grow to be anywhere between 200 and 900 pounds, depending on the species. And these animals seem very cute and cuddly, but in fact are capable of killing humans within a moment's notice. Bears do feel affection, and they do so only for their carers. But if anything is to go wrong, or the mood of the bear changes, an innocent, caring owner could be mauled to death instantly. Just Googling bear owner accidents, you receive 86,700,000 results and stories, As recently as October 25th, 2019, a bear trainer was attacked putting on a show for a local circus and was fatally injured in front of the crowd. But for $700 to $1,500, you could own a bear cub, depending on the breed. The website buybears.org, yes, that is a real .org website, lists a bear cub for as little as $200. These problems can be solved, but only through the united powers of the American people. Federal, state, and local laws all conflict and confuse the public and vary on a state-to-state basis. It's not the right slide. Not the right slides. This couple who's out of Oregon own a bear illegally in their state, and they're nicknamed the couple who do not fear death because this bear roams around their home. It lives inside the house. It doesn't go outside. There's no cage. There's no like dog house per se. These people actually live with this bear and feed it, have been raising it since birth, and it's, as you can see there, it's very capable of eating them both. But this is why these laws have to change, because the safety of that animal surviving and those people are endangered. Exotic animal ownership is mostly a state government issue, and every state has its unique laws governing exotic pet ownership. Have you go to the next slide first. That is the latest attack from October 25th, 2019. That's a Russian circus employee, and that black bear is attacking him in front of all those people, and he ended up passing away, obviously. On to that next slide. That graph is pretty much accurate. It wasn't updated in 2020 for the correct estimates on the states where people can legally own exotic animals with permutation or without. So it's not exactly up to state, but it's fairly accurate. Those are chimpanzees that are are in captivity. A local owner has these in South or North Carolina. Alabama, North and South Carolina, Montana, Nevada, and Wisconsin do not require the owner to obtain a license or permit to possess the animal within the state. So that's for exotic animal ownership. This creates a plethora of issues with the state's ecosystem. Unregulated owners who end up releasing animals because they cannot care for these extremely tedious pets, obviously, end up taking over or destroying local populations. That is a Burmese python native to Southeast Asia in Miami, Florida. For example, the Burmese python in South Florida. After the 80s exotic pet boom, a breeding facility that was selling these pythons harboring Asian native Burmese pythons was tampered with, and several got out. The damage caused to the Everglades ecosystem was so devastating to the mammals who live there. An open hunting barrier was lifted in Florida. Hunters without hunting licenses on private and state land can openly kill these pythons. Public land restricts less humane methods that the kind people of Florida must abide by, though. That's a common white-tailed deer found inside of a Burmese python. So you can get a good estimate on how big these guys are, because that last photo, the python was dated at like 2 years old. So it still had potential to grow. Pythons, for reference, can lay between 50 to 100 eggs in a season, all without competition in Florida. So pythons basically mate with each other. They lay 50 to 100 eggs, and every season, and there's nobody to attack the eggs or the pythons. So that's why they've lifted the hunting ban. And the estimates on the Burmese python problem, because scientists are working on creating a gene that only creates males, but the statistics on it are vague because they believe it to be either tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of pythons that live 30 minutes away from downtown Miami. So these things grow like crazy. You pretty much can't stop them because no natural competitor can compete with their size and strength, and it's basically just a feeding ground for Burmese pythons and has been since the 80s. Most Burmese python grow to a size of a telephone pole in girth and nearly 20 feet in length at full size, according to history.com. Only in 2010 did python ownership become legal. So you can see that even after this problem, they were still, which would happen in 81 or 80, they continued to allow ownership until 2010. That's, somewhat of 30 years of exotic ownership of these pythons. These types of situations are what harsher exotic pet laws aim to fix. The federal government should enforce a strict no exotic pet law, and states obviously will continue to allow because they profit off of these creatures and the people who own them. But the federal government has the authority to stop the processes of obtaining exotic animals. A lot of these cubs, pythons, eggs, they come in overseas because they're native overseas, and they go through customs, they go through the state system and the postal service, and some of them get discarded. Like there's many illegal animals that get stopped at the border. It's actually a fairly big portion of customs stoppages in the US, but obviously there needs to be more, and these animals need to stay in their homeland because you'll end up with the Everglades in the 80s on your hands. Penalties should vary if the owner is abusing the animal, or if he was to breed the animal, which is a big no-no in most states now. If the owner was to release or cause harm to the public by allowing the animal to roam, that's another good charge, because these are completely open-ended. There's really not many exotic pet laws in place now because, well, most everybody likes them except for they do damage to the general public and the animals, so nobody's really thinking about them. I believe jail time should be the punishment. That's a picture of a average Burmese python egg laying session. These eggs actually wrap around and completely take up the space of the python's body. I didn't want to include a picture because it's pretty graphic, but there was a video of a man who had a Burmese python that was clearly pregnant and about to lay eggs, and you can grab their body hand-wise and just peel like the fat and the organs back, and you can see tens of 20 eggs just laying in this snake's corpse. And that's what it looks like when they come out. They coil around them and they protect them for a certain number of days until they hatch, and they grow up to be 20 feet long and the size of telephone poles. Depending on the damage done, the owner should face varying levels of time. The responsibility should be divided to the department inside the Fish and Wildlife Service of the United States. I believe that stricter laws on exotic pet ownership will help stop irresponsible purchasing of wild, dangerous, ecosystem impacting animals. I believe these laws will help improve the lives of many hopeless and caged exotic animals being owned right now. I also believe stricter laws will help the fight against releasing animals in the wild that have no place to be there, and will help prevent drastic changes in the wildlife environments around the US. That's Joe Exotic. Obviously everybody knows who he is. He's in jail currently for the euthanization of many tigers in his big cat park in Oklahoma. You can click again. So in order to do your part, please visit and support the Humane Society. They lead the fight in just animal cruelty in general. So if you can support financially or give your support by visiting their website, that's a good thing to do. And help out at home by voting for non-cruelty and anti-exotic animal laws in your local legislature. Thank you.